Hello, everybody. Welcome. Today is Thursday. It's a little gloomy in my area. I wanted to run away from work. I saw the rain. Anyway, welcome to another episode of GBC Women with Words. I see three beautiful women here with some handsome gentleman that's going to be posted up later.
You lie.
Welcome, everybody. This Thursday. Hello, Eva.
Hello, everybody.
Interviewed now. Beautiful. Say, y'all see her side, dude? There you go.
Don't play with Inner Beauty.
My little wig.
Girl, you look hot. I feel a little naked. I have no
lipstick, right?
No colors on my lip.
I know. This is 2023.
Y'all need to help our sister out.
You be busy.
Any Beauty is back in top form, so we gotta step up to her game in 2023. Hello, Agatha. How are you?
I am wonderful. It's Friday Eve. You know, it's my favorite day.
Yes.
I know.
I'm excited. Weather is great here. Wasn't hot, wasn't cold. It was perfect.
I know.
Okay.
I'm just rubbing it in just a little bit. Don't hate, Mama. Don't hate.
That's all right.
I know. That's okay. We hate our rainy weather, but anyway, it's good. How was the week so far?
That cuddle weather, right? Isn't that what he says?
Yeah, it's a cuddling weather. I ain't got nobody to cuddle with except my blanket and pillows, but that's all right.
We'll talk about that after we talk with our guests because there was some posting going on.
Whatever.
Yes, It's a beauty. We need to talk about that.
Oh, that's just a hearsay story.
No, I did say. Yeah,
okay, my week has been very stressful at work. Extremely stressful at work.
We wouldn't know that.
Oh, so stressful. I've been working since last week, Tuesday, every day, every single day until today. And I got
Saturday and Sunday?
Wow. Yes. And I get to be off tomorrow. I work.
Well, let me do that. Liberian people can do. But says, let me hold $100 now.
Mom, you catch your phone.
And I can do it?
Yeah.
Oh, come on, let me get a small tea now.
Let me hold it small now.
Well, I'm so happy that I'm off tomorrow. So tomorrow, Yama with Eva and myself and our guys. Oh my God. And listen, my son is running on Saturday, so I had to go get him small cash to send him. I said, and I was rushing to the bank. I was like, oh Lord, the bank when I close. I got to the bank like maybe 5 to 5, and the window, the outside window was closed. And I went to the city knocking the put. So the woman said, what's going on, Glennie? I said, listen, and I get you out of my house tomorrow. I need to get money for my son today. But anyway, I was able to get it. So hope he does good on Saturday.
I'm sure he will.
He will.
Yes. And of course, let me do the most important thing that I like to do, and that is to call my most beautiful and amazing name. And my name is Glenda Jane Junius. And I'm here this evening with our two beautiful co-hosts. Auntie. Oh, I got that fingers today.
Yeah.
You saw Auntie Beauty?
Oh, she doing cuteness. You see her. You know what? I'm fitting with a guest because when we're fitting with a guest, I will explain. I will do a whole rundown of the fashion that I'm seeing here today because y'all can't even play with this. You get the hair to swoop to the side. I'm gonna cover her one eye.
Yeah, somebody.
And she's showing us her profile. You see, she just turned so she just wants to see.
Something. So anyway, welcome everybody to this edition. We have a very important guest here this evening. Like you know, this is the most, I say all the time, the most important platform. And we have a very important guest. We're going to be hearing about all that he's been involved in, what he has been doing. The man lives in Liberia, my people. So he's going to be telling us the differences. And there's a question I want to ask him, and I'm going to keep it for later. I'm going to ask. But the month of January, I was looking up that this month is actually Poverty Awareness Month. So it's Poverty Awareness Month. So if you get a $5, say some for January, say some for February. And it's also Mental Wellness Month. It is Yes, Mental Wellness Month. It is Cervical Health Month. It is National Blood Donor Month, and it's also Celebration of Life, which is
Oh,
in,
yes.
yes, it's Celebration of Life Month, which is important. Kind of is synonym to the fact that January is the first of the year, so the first month in the year. So you want to celebrate life throughout the year. We hear every now and then we see postings of people dying. This week, J. Benjamin, peace
Oh,
to him, was his memorial service was held. We also want to
Tuesday.
continue to send condolences out to his family. So life is short, and so we have to do all we can to live and live it well. Whether you are married, divorced, single, or virgin, live your life to the fullest. All right, let's. This is a good way to bring our guests on. Let's welcome our guests to the platform. Hello.
welcome.
Thank, thank you for having me.
So welcome, want to welcome. It's an honor for us to have you here on GBC Women with Words. This
Indeed.
man knew he was gonna be in trouble if he didn't show up today. He texted me. He said, "If I go to sleep and I woke up, you will not." He said, "You will not speak to me for the rest of my life. Even if you eat heavy, you will not speak to me." But it's good to have you. So tell us that we have, ladies and gentlemen, we have on our show this evening, Mr. Vivian C. Jones. He is the CEO of a very important. I want him to tell us all about who he is and what he does. Just tell us a little bit for our audience watching who Vivian C. Jones is. I don't want to leave the C of my people that trouble, so we gotta call it C.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. Once again, my name is Vivian C. Jones, and the C is for Charles. So those who might be wondering, and a little story. When I was growing up, or I guess when I was younger, for some reason in Liberia, I didn't like the Vivian name because it was always referred to as a girl's name or female name.
Mhm.
So I started going by V. Charles Jones. And so a
Oh,
lot of the people that knew me when I was growing up from Riggs, Cuttington, they would refer to me as V. Charles. But then when I got to the US, I realized that Charles was just a popular name and it was everywhere. And so I decided to go back to my Vivian because I like to be unique and different. I tell people all the time, you have to dare to be different. And so I started using my Vivian and it's stuck. And I don't think I'm going back to V Charles, but I still have people who call me V Charles and I allow them to, to go with the flow. A little about Vivian Jones. I grew up and went to school in Liberia, graduated from Cuttington. And I think one of the things I tell people all the time that I'm a product of boarding schools, both Ricks and Cuttington. And for me, boarding school changed my life. It made me independent because I was very skinny when I was growing up, but I also had a very bad temper. And what would happen is going on rigs where everybody else was bigger than I was. I mean, you can't afford to have a temper because if you do, you're just going to get beat all the time. So going on boarding school helped me control my temper. And thanks to my parents, both deceased, I have no regrets. Boarding school does prepare you because you have to be out there making your own decisions. There are no parents, there's nobody. It's just you and all of the peer pressure, and you just have to do what you need to do to make sure you make the grades. Now, when we were growing up, it was about you had no other responsibility other than going to school and making the grades, and that was what we did. People say I was smart because I was always in the student center, but they don't understand how I always remain on the honor roll list. Again, my thing was you have to understand in school or in class. If once you can understand in class, I think you've gone 60 or 75% of the way.
Mhm.
So fast forward, the coup happened. In fact, certain things in life you remember for a lifetime. And I remember exactly where I was when the coup happened. Obviously, I was on Cottington, 1980. I was a freshman. So anyway, that happened, but I was able to graduate. And funny story, I always wanted to be a pilot, and I love flying. But for some reason, you know how the old people are. My parents didn't want me to fly. So after graduating, I had a scholarship to go to Israel to fly for Air Liberia. And the night I was supposed to leave, my passport disappeared.
Now,
Hi.
hold on now. So the real Liberia, not the cake now.
No, the real Air Liberia. Yes, the real Air Liberia. And my passport disappeared,
Oh, wow.
and there was nothing I could do. I talked to my mother. She's like, "Oh, I don't," but I knew she took my passport. But anyway, I'm grateful that she probably made that decision, because then I, went to the US, I think a couple of months later, and then decided to do mechanical engineering. And I was in a very small school in West Virginia, actually West Virginia Tech. Because one, the tuition at West Virginia Tech was much lower than MIT or Georgia Tech, places that I was accepted. So I just told my parents, okay, we will go to a small little town in West Virginia. But after my first semester, I had this professor, and I say it all the time. He had retired from NASA, and he did thermodynamics. So can you imagine? And nobody in the class could even make a 30. And I'm saying to myself, I'm going to be
Wow.
frustrating myself if I stay. Imagine taking 4 or 5 courses under this guy. I
Wow.
just said it wasn't going to work. But then I found myself always in the computer labs, because again, at that time, computers were just coming about. They basically had the mainframe computers and stuff. But I got interested in it. And so for some reason, I had to leave West Virginia, and I ended up in Massachusetts. And then, started working like most people, but I still wanted to pursue my education. So I went and got my master's in computer science from Boston College. And then after that, I also went to Suffolk University, and I got my MBA. Again, the thing is, when you're in tech, sometimes they just try to keep you in one place. And I was exceeding technically, but I could see that from the business sense, things weren't happening. So I just decided, well, let me get my own, go and get my master's in business. I did that, and then started working. I worked for John Hancock for about 6 years. From there, I worked for Verizon, and I think maybe another 9. And then I went to IBM for, I think, 8 years. And I got to a point in my life when I decided I wanted to, do something different. It happened that my uncle, deceased uncle, Judy Bryant, we got up one morning. He was an uncle, and the next morning he was president of a nation. The entire family was surprised. Anyway, so I decided, he was in Accra, and I decided to go to Accra and see him, because I just knew that trying to see him in Monrovia, it was just going to be a mess
Difficult.
with all the security and everything else. And I really don't have patience. If you tell me come at 1 o'clock, maybe 10, 15 minutes, that's fine. But when I got to sit for 2 hours, then I figured my time is important. So anyway, I went to see him, and fast forward, something was happening in Monrovia one day. I think it was the time we had that Muslim Christian crisis or something around the Gardnersville area. And obviously I had access to my uncle. So I called him up to complain. When you're in the States, everything you hear about Liberia, you want to call somebody to complain or say something. And his words to me was, if you want to make a difference, come home. Those were his words. He said, when I called him and asked him, he said, Vivian, that's all you call me for? He said, you want to make a difference, come home. And he hung up the phone. And for some reason, it really hit me. So I decided, okay, yes, I will try to do some work. So they needed to have some stuff networked in the mansion. So I left. I always remember, because it was 2004. I think the Democratic Convention was happening in Boston. So I figured, instead of taking 2 weeks, I could take 4. Nobody was going to miss me. Yeah. So I go to Liberia to help network the mansion. And I thought it was going to be for 2 weeks. But I get there, and the mansion is a fortress. So you leave from here thinking you're going to go to the mansion and you will use wireless. But guess what? Wireless doesn't work. And 2 weeks into my stay, I realized that I wasn't making any progress. So anyway, talked to some of the locals, and they decided, we figured that we had to do this thing with wires, because it just wasn't going to work. And I wasn't going to just leave without it working. So we got it working, and then I left. And I think part of the reason I also left was my father was sick. And so I ended up cutting my trip short, and I got here on August 4th. He died on the 6th. So I guess that he was waiting for me to come. But, thankfully he didn't do it on my birthday. So, because my birthday is on the 8th. Yeah. So that was his, I guess, his parting gift to me.
Oh.
So I decided after a couple of, I think maybe 1 or 2 years, I then decided I was going to go back to Liberia. I had taken some leave of absences from IBM, and I got to a point where IBM wanted me, whenever, because my leave of absences were like 3 months. So I would take the leave of absence. When you come back, I would take another one. I think after the third one, IBM had an assignment for me because I was like a consultant. And I realized, I said to myself, if I take this job, if I continue with IBM on this perspective, this assignment, I would not be able to go back to Liberia. So I just told them I couldn't do it, and decided I was going to go to Liberia and start my IT business. So I started Mwetana Consulting and Technology Group. And Mwetana basically was started with one crazy guy called George Famule. George he had come to Liberia, and the both of us were in the IT sector, but I was there earlier. So almost everywhere he went, he heard my name. And George, being smart, figured, you know what, instead of trying to fight this guy, let's work together. And I also agreed. And so we formed Mwetana, and Mwetana is a VI word, and it means moving forward. Let's make progress. And again, our thing was using technology to move Liberia forward, because when I went to Liberia, electricity was a challenge. And my
Isn't
brother
it
Lawrence
still a
always
challenge?
said, electricity was a challenge. Well, it still is, but
Exactly.
so how do you start an IT company in a country where there's no electricity? So again, for me, I'm like a robot. If I hit a wall, I would turn left or right and move again until I hit another wall. So I just, at that point in time, it wasn't going to stop me. And I just continued. And then George and I had to part ways, but we're still friends. We still talk. But from the, professional and business side, it just wasn't going to work. We're just two different persons. So, and that was it. So I started, there were hardly anybody in Liberia with skills. And so I started hiring people and training them. And for me, my attitude was Liberia is not going to change me. The things that I've learned from on this side, I was going to continue using it to build my business. For one thing, most times salaries in Liberia, they're very small. So for me, I decided I would pay my people every 2 weeks, something that happens here we take for granted. But in Liberia, they look forward to their salaries every 2 weeks. And my thing was, even if I don't get paid, my employees will get paid. Because in the technology sector, your employees are your most valuable asset.
Yes.
And you run the risk because you train them and then they leave because somebody offers them more money, and then there's nothing you can do about it. And you get to a point where you just say, this is just the way it is. This is like life. You train people. Some who believe in the vision will stay, and those who don't, they will leave. Yeah. And a good number of people that are in the IT sector today pass through Mwetana, and some of them we still communicate, we still talk. And my attitude is, I know you want to leave. Just be honest and tell me you want to leave. We can discuss it. But if you tell me you go in for a scholarship, and then 2 weeks later I see you at another job, for me we're done. That means you can't be trusted, and you should hope and pray that they never come to ask me for reference.
Yeah. So Vivian, let me interject just a moment. You're a great storyteller, and we need to ask you some specific questions. So give us just a minute. Let's jump in there and ask you a couple of questions if you don't mind.
Yes. So Mwetana has been around since 2006. So I think this year will be 17 years, 2023. Oh, wow. Yeah. So we've been around for a while, but for me, it's not about a lot of noise. You do your work, and your work will show forward, and then that will be your reference for other people to, seek out your services. So that's it.
Cool. So let's rewind and talk about when you first got to the mansion. So I'm assuming that first gig was not under this company that you formed. It was after. Is that correct? So
the first gig was with a company called Coastal Communications. Okay. Again, got to Liberia, I wanted to do telecom, but At the time, Lone Star was the only telecom company. And then you had the likes of Cellcom, that's today Orange, and some other companies.
Right.
So what had happened is, I think the government had overissued the number of licenses that they could issue to companies. So I complained about it, and I was told that everybody was going to stop. They were going to do an investigation, and then after that, they'll make a decision. Well, some of the other people started rolling out, and when we complained, the exact words to me were, they're rolling out at their own risk. 2 months later, I was told, well, they got stuff on the ground and we're going to go with them. So it was my first lesson in how you deal with government, and you don't believe everything they tell you. I mean, it was a way of telling me, well, you just got to break the law sometimes, because these guys actually broke the law and they got away with it, and they're still here today. But that's life. That's what it is. So yes, we started as, it was Coastal Communications, and that was a company, that was a separate company founded by me and three other persons, one person, a cousin of mine, and then two other Americans. But it folded because electricity was a challenge. We could not provide internet during the day. And I didn't want to be in a situation where I'm providing internet service to people and they're complaining because I can't do it after hours. So I just
that's the main time they're going to be needed.
exactly
After hours.
Yes. And then bless my soul, what's his name? Johnny Lewis, deceased. He was one of my clients. And one day he called me. I was busy doing something. When I got to him, his first question was, if I were Ellen Johnson, what would you do? Would you come late? And I'm like, this guy is not going to put me in jail. So I just, said to myself, let me get out of this. Yeah, let me get out of this.
My tempo will not.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. So yes, it was a different company.
Okay. So the company now, and I don't want to butcher the name, but help me pronounce it.
Mwetana. If you try to look at it and pronounce it, it will give you a hard time. Learn to pronounce it. Yes, it's Mwetana.
Mwetana.
I usually just drop the M and call it Mwetana.
Mwetana.
It's
Mwetana. Phonetically pronounce it.
Yes.
So what are the services that you provide? When you say IT, that's a huge umbrella. What are you doing? You're doing software, you're doing hardware. What exactly is the service that you provide?
We provide both software and infrastructure services. Again, Liberia being a very small market, and this is something I can tell to most people. If you try to do one thing, unless you're very big, you probably wouldn't survive. So you got to do a lot of different things. So we position ourselves as a one-stop IT shop. So if you came to us and you needed, people will come and they need IT software solutions, but they don't have the network infrastructure to put it in place. And to avoid the situation where the infrastructure people will say, oh, the software is the problem, and the software people will say the infrastructure is the problem, we decide to come to the table and provide both. So if you have it, then that's fine. But if you don't, we can also provide that service, do all of your networking, set up your servers, anything that's required from the infrastructure side, we can do that. We can do consulting because, again, my DNA is in consulting. So we can do consulting. We do security. You name it, we do it. And if we can't, we can always bring in people that can work with us to get it done. So my thing is, you must know what you do know, and then you go out and find it. So, but essentially, we do software development, custom software development. So whatever problems you have, we build systems and we build solutions for that. And if you need, because remember when I first got to Liberia, I used to install VSATs and do networking stuff. So I do have a team that can do both. So we do both.
I have so many questions, but I'll let the others go.
So I wanted to go back to when you started, and I'm assuming that you were at the peak of your career working with IBM. You have a family, and then you decide to leave all of this to go to Liberia. I want you to take us back to, because I'm sure there are people who want to do that. I want to hear what the conversation was with your family, your wife, your children. What did they think? Like, are you crazy? What do you want us to do? I want to bring them into the conversation so that people hear, because I know you've been in Liberia for a while, going back and forth. So take us to that moment when you decide and you have to tell your family that.
Okay. The first thing I was told that I was crazy. My brother Lawrence just told me, you got to be crazy. You're leaving IBM. I mean, I'm making good money, doing well.
2014.
And it's, yeah. So basically I had a plan. I had a friend who, I mean, you got certain friends, you just talk about Liberia. And we used to talk about Liberia every night, what to do and what not to do. So he told me, he said, if you want to go to Liberia, you got to find something for your family to do or for your wife to do, because she was in the childcare business. And he's like, and he was in the childcare business, so he was teaching me. But he's not the person who will sit down and tell you everything. You got to go and spend 3 or 4 hours with him talking about Liberia for 3 hours. Then he will give you 1 hour the stuff about what you need to do for the whole year for setting up the daycare. So I, to be honest, thanks to my wife, but I didn't tell her initially what I was planning to do in terms of leaving. So basically, we started the daycare. We purchased a building. We had assets in the house, not assets, but we had equity in the house. So it was a risk. We took out the equity, purchased a building, dilapidated building, and decided we were going to do the work to renovate it, to bring it up to code. For anybody who knows how difficult it is with the childcare, they're very rigid. So I got into renovations because bought the building, and then first thing I needed an architect, and the architect was charging me $250,000. So yeah. So that was the first wake up call to get the permit, do the work.
You were
So
learning fast.
anyway, yes, we found a way, and then so after 2 years, so we started the daycare. In fact, I think it turned 20 this year also. So we started the daycare, and then after 2 years, I told her, well, she would have to be on her own, because I started helping. You open day one, you're not going to have all the kids you need. We started a 40 child occupancy. So that's the kind of license we had. And, I gave her all the credit because I went to Liberia and I didn't have to worry about bills on this side. Because I think if I had, two things might have happened. I would be a different man today because I would have gotten involved in a whole lot of stuff to make ends meet. So she was in a position where she could help with the bills. And whenever I had some money, I could send it over. But never did she ever call me one day about rent or mortgage or anything. So I'm here because of her. Now, luckily for me, my mother was also here. So in terms of the girls, my mother could help take care of them. She was still able to drive. She was basically the chaperone. So she knew the schedule for dance schools, for gym, for music. So she knew all of that. So again, the pressure wasn't on my wife alone to deal with running a daycare business from maybe 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening and then have children to worry about. So I was blessed. I think it took planning, and it was just a perfect storm for me, if I can call it that. Because if I look back, if my mother had not been around, it probably was going to be a different story.
Yeah, different.
It takes a village.
Yeah, it does take a village. So because my younger daughter now, she tells me, "Oh, I wasn't there when she was growing up." So that's the guilty conscience she uses on me.
Oh yes.
In fact, even when I went,
hard.
because when I was doing my MBA, I had to go to Ireland for a week, and that was the same week she was born. So so she got me wrapped around her finger. So and then
I know, but I think it was a smart move. And you're a very smart man because first of all, you made the woman to focus on the fact that she's going to be her own CEO, and then you just chill it.
She is her own CEO. She is her own CEO.
So the woman that why if you're gonna leave me in my own comfort, doing everything I have the finances, and even you won't go come back to like brother, you can go. I don't worry again. So that was a really good thing. I want to hear a little bit about what are some of the projects you've done for Liberia as it relates to. I know you've done some. Tell us about some work you may have done with the university. If you've done some work with LU, I know there's some work that you've done. And how is it going to tie in with someone who has a school and wants you to do some work? What do they have to do to get to you?
Okay. LU, for me, we develop a school system. All right. Because that, when you've lived in the States all this time, you've seen how things work. You go back home. I mean, almost every semester, LU had a crisis when it came to registration. And it because there was no system, well, there was not an automated system in place. And when you have people doing manual things, it gets to a point where they will get overwhelmed. In addition to that, if you have bad people in the system, it makes it even worse. So we started work. We decided, we looked around because when we started originally, we used to run behind, you would see the ad in the paper for work, you would go after it. But it got to the point where those things were drying up. So we just decided, look, let's build our own solutions and then we go out to clients and try to sell it to them. Because so we did that, and we were involved in this very competitive process with the University of Liberia. I mean, they really gave us a hard time. They knew what they wanted, and they kept coming to us and asking us to do this and do that, but we didn't have a contract. So it got to a point I said, you know what? If I don't have a contract, I can't keep changing things.
I
If you
know.
call me to demo, I will demo the same thing you have shown you. I don't have the patience to keep doing this thing without a contract.
It costs money.
Then, luckily for us, President Ria got into office, and then he made the digitization of UL a priority. And by doing that, it put us right in the firing line because this was supposed to be part of his 180 days deliverable, and we were we're already 90 days into the 180 days. So you can imagine. And so, but again, we decided we will make it work. So we did what we had to do to get it working that first semester, and we're still doing stuff. I mean, there's still things we're improving, but that was the challenge. But for me, when you hear students fainting, standing in line to register, I think the one that really hit me was when students had to go 3 o'clock in the morning to secure a position to be able to register. Today that is unthinkable. They can't even. It doesn't happen. If now you're a student at the University of Liberia, you can register from anywhere,
Amazing.
anytime. 24/7, the system works. There's never a time when you will say, oh, the system's down. Now, systems do go down, but it's not one of those things that if it goes down, it's not something that we can't handle perhaps in a couple of hours. I mean, we turn around things, whatever it is, because we develop it 100% on our own. So we know everything. So if something is not working, we know exactly where to go and look. And my attitude is being in the IT business is a 24/7 business. So before I hire anybody, I tell them that. So you may be married, but if I pick up the phone and send you a text 2-3 o'clock in the morning, I expect you to call me when you wake up, and that's the attitude. So I think for LU over the past 4 years, the joy it brings to us is that we now have changed a whole generation of people who know that systems can work. So when these LU students start going and getting their jobs in the public sector or the private sector, they know technology works, and they know you can put a system together that doesn't get sick. When you're dealing with humans, somebody wakes up in the morning, their husband or wife treats them, they're not happy to get to work. They take that attitude. The system doesn't. And then, systems don't discriminate. So you're not coming to give somebody $1 to put you on the list or something. You just follow the procedures that the school has, set up, and everything works like a piece of cake. So for me, we believe it has changed, how things operate at the University of Liberia. And then based on that, we decided that, look, we will expand this to all schools. So our system is not only for university and colleges. We also have a version now that works with K through 12. And we also have a version that works for technical schools, because technical schools, they're on a rotating basis. So it's like almost every 8 weeks, you have a new cohort of students coming in. So these are all some of the things that we're working on. We have our systems in schools, we got them in universities, and we continue to upgrade the system because, once you do something, then everybody else can do it. And so everybody else wants to come in and say they can do it or they can do it better. And so, our attitude is, okay, you can do it better. We'll up the game and we'll add more to it. And that's basically what it is. So, we do have some competition, but competition is good because then you don't just, you don't get too complacent.
Yeah.
So that's one system that we've developed that we know is making a lot of changes. We were very involved with the health sector during the COVID time. Again, COVID came like a thief in the night, and there was a lot of things. Again, it got to a point where you needed to get a travel certificate. And to do that, there were lines at the Ministry of Health. And again, anytime you have a process that requires humans to pay for it or to even obtain it, people find a way to make money off of the system. Now, the funny thing is, people will pay, but it's just the chaos that's involved. So if you
Yes.
put the system in place and you charge the same, then you can sleep at night. And
Yeah.
so we engaged the Ministry of Health and told them that we could help, we can help, but it wasn't going to be for free. I mean, because my thing is, I'm not an NGO. I am a private sector company that's out there to build capacity, and people have to eat and get paid.
That's
If everything has
important.
to be for free, then I will not be able to do what I'm doing.
Oh no.
So we focus on we do work in the health sector, and I think there was a report that was out that Liberia was up there in terms of how they manage the entire
Okay.
COVID in
Yeah.
terms of the vaccines and all of that. So
Mhm.
again, because when we sit at night, when I sit with my partners and we're discussing, we're looking at ways to come up with solutions. If something isn't working, say in Liberia, we start to talk about it. And then the next thing we say, okay, how can we engage them to see if we can help them fix this thing? And I tell them all the time, I went to school with the same I hate to use the word, but the same white people who will come and will tell them a whole lot of stuff and they will buy into it. But
Yes.
as a Liberian, you tell them the same thing, they tend not to want to believe you. But that is changing because now Mwetana is out there. People know who we are. They know of our work. And so when we go and we mention Mwetana, they say, yeah, and okay, we know about you guys. You are the guys that did it. And it has to work. And that's the thing. When you put yourself out there like this, know that it must work, because if it doesn't work, you got to be able to there's no coming back. So we try to make sure that everything we get involved with works. And we're not 100% perfect, nobody is, but we pay attention to our clients, we pay attention to the systems to make sure they work, even if there's something that we have to do, say do a detour, we will do it. Because with the LU project, we had to hire 40 persons just to roll out the system. Because
Wow.
yes, we hired 40 persons on for that semester to roll the system out. Again, because we understand the dynamics. We knew, LU got, I think, 8 different colleges. So our thing was, let's separate these
Adequate.
colleges. So once you divide them out, you're not going to have a line in one place. So you will have lines, but they will be at the different colleges and they will be manageable. So that was what we did. And so at that point, it was my people who was using the system because we knew it. But eventually, everything was turned over to the university. And I
You
mean, we
trained
have
them.
we don't get involved with it until maybe there's a problem, and then we'll get involved.
All right. Eva?
I mean, that's good. Do you work with like financial institutions? Because who did we have on here the last time that was talking about digitizing
Monkey, Fambule.
yes, yes, yes.
Um,
Was
we
it
we
Joyce?
do we do some work with the Ministry of Finance. The Ministry of Finance has this one integrated system called free. Well, it's called if in certain places it's called IFMIS, but it's the free balance system, and it was brought in, I think, in 20. I can't remember exactly, but it was brought in. It was funded by the World Bank. They paid for it, and basically, it's the system that's used for all of the government payment, all of the assets and everything else. It goes through the free balance system. Before you get paid, your voucher or your PO has to go through free balance. And then free balance, they didn't have all of the things that they needed. So we were brought on board to help them with the what's called the EDMS, electronic document management, because all of the paperwork that gets generated or that's created for that voucher, we had to help manage that. And so that's what it is today. So basically now ministries can stay where they are, process their vouchers and everything else without going to the Ministry of Finance, which again is another key, because the Ministry of Finance was like a market ground. Everybody's
Yes.
going there to process their documents. Now you don't have to. The ministries stay where they are and they do the processing. The checks get processed. within the Ministry of Finance. They can tell you exactly where where the processing is by whatever department it's in. So all of the workflow that's required. It gets frustrating if you're following your payment and somebody tells you it's in process.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? Yeah, it could be at the head of the line, or it could be where it's in check processing.
The
So
checks
all
in
of
the
those.
mail.
Exactly. So yes, we do work with financial institutions. In terms of, we're trying to talk to some of them now to help them with their signature specimen. Banks, they do generate a lot of paperwork also. We do some work with HR systems, with biometrics. Again, one of the things that we believe can change Liberia, because with biometrics, you put in a lot of control, you get rid of a lot of fraud and stuff
Yes.
like that. And so
Yes.
that's one of the things we do with our HR systems. And even for systems that require payments, we use biometrics to solve the problem. For example, we did some work with NASCOP, because we work with NASCOP. And, early on, NASCOP used to pay the beneficiaries, and every month there was chaos, because the beneficiary listing was just growing exponentially. And at that time, I suggested to them, why don't we do biometrics? Nobody even thought it was going to work. I said, well, if we do biometrics, you will cut this list down. At the time, the list was around 7,000. And after the exercise, the list came down to 3,000. And now
Mm.
it's going up. But you had older people who would come, and you see them looking old, but they got some very funny ways. Some of them receiving two benefits and all of that. So we put the system in place, because based on the policy. And if you have two benefits, that one is illegal, NASCOP has the responsibility to decide which one to give you, especially if you come and you're doing the wrong thing. And that's another system I can say, since we put it in place, beneficiaries get paid on the 10th of the month, every month, on time. I mean,
Amazing.
yeah, they don't miss. That is, I mean, if anything's going to happen, then that means we're in trouble. But they've set it up so that the 10th of the month, the payroll is generated, it goes to the banks, and beneficiaries can it goes directly to their bank accounts. They can go and collect their money. So there are things we do also based on experience, that we sometimes, talk to our clients and tell them, why don't you do it this way? And if they listen, they'll be in a better position. And that's what we do.
Any other question? I got to.
Yeah, I have a few. So,
A few.
yeah, I have a few. I have so many questions for you, but I know I have to limit it. But
All
a
right.
couple of questions. The Liberia that you went to school in is quite different. I call it post-war Liberia and pre-war Liberia. Totally different as far as education is concerned. How do you find talent?
I I can I use I think I create my own talent. IT is based on the ability to understand, and you do have some good students or good candidates that come up, and they may not have all of the skills, and it's our responsibility to put them in the fire and make sure they learn. Mwetana is viewed as like maybe a Microsoft or Google. Almost everybody that's coming out of college wants to work for Mwetana, because they know they learn when they come to us. They learn. So we train our own staff. For some of them, we send them for training. But nowadays, what makes it different is they have the internet, and I tell them all the time, anything that you need to learn, it's on
Mhm.
the internet, the world's
Absolutely.
largest library. So
Yes.
if you want to excel, you just need to show us that you have the will, you're ready to do it. IT requires a lot of discipline, to be able to sit down 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours working
Mhm.
on one thing. It takes certain kind of individuals, and if they don't have it, it's not one of those things where you would come, we give you a book to read, and you must do it.
Yeah.
And if you can't do it, then it's a different story. We've been lucky. Um, it has improved a little, because now you have more computer schools. But the only problem we have is what they're being taught is not necessarily what we need. So even when they come to us, we still have to train them. We go through a rigorous interview process. Because I tell you, one time some guy went on the internet and he took somebody's CV, brought it, and submitted it. Yeah, and so all we did is, I'm looking at the thing. I'm like, this thing doesn't make sense. So put a few words in, and sure enough, we saw the exact thing. So,
Yeah.
and for me, those kind of things, I don't hold back. So I just told him, I said, you know what, I prefer you come here and telling us you want to learn. You don't have, but you bring a CV about working and, managing $100,000 project. And it's just somebody document that you just, copy, change the names. Some of them don't even know how to write well. So you're reading the thing and it can't be from them,
Yeah.
because you can talk to somebody and the English that comes out of their mouth it should be the same English that you write. So sometimes we tell them, write one paragraph as to why you want to work for us. So it's a challenge, but it's improving. I tell you, compared to say 2006 to now, you have a lot of them. But unfortunately, the thing when they get a degree, they know everything. I call them briefcase programmers, and then they're walking around. They work for you for maybe 6 months or a year, and then they think they can start their own business.
Of
I say,
course.
okay, be my guest. I have no problem. If you think it's that easy, you know, come and compete with me. So that's basically it. But yes, that's how we find our people. So now what we do is, even in our contracts, we put in our contracts that you can't hire any of my employees 2 years after
Yeah.
we leave you. So it's in the contract. And so if you try to do that, we'll go after you. Now, there are certain situations where we may do work for a client, they want a particular staff. We make the decision and then say, okay, you know what? Maybe we can let the person go, and then we let them go. But if they try to do it in the closet and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and you're drawing fresh blood, and so then we'll come after you.
Right. I'm going to try and sum this all up. I don't want to put you on the spot. I've been an IT professional for over 20 years myself, and I
Okay.
struggle 2 reasons. I'm Black, I'm African, I have an accent, and I'm a woman. So I know how difficult it is to be all of this in this profession. What are you doing as a Liberian in Liberia to help our girls get into IT? What is the percentage of women in your company, and how do you work towards getting more girls into the field?
We have a policy. Right now, 35% of our staff is female. 35%. And for me, it's not just say managerial stuff.
I
It's
was just going to
programmers.
ask you, where is
No,
that 35%? They're not
no,
your
it's
secretary and admins, are
no,
they?
no,
Are
they're
they
not.
writing code?
No, they're writing code, they're doing analysis.
Okay.
So it's a policy, and I tell my partners that, look, women think differently. So we can't have a situation where you have all men sitting around the table to do programming. You got to have women because they bring something different to the table. So we sometimes we put out adverts, and I tell them straight, this one, it has to be a female. So work until you find one. It has to be a female. So it's a policy that 35% of the staff must be, and like you said, it's not just administrative. In fact, I think we only have one female in administration, and she's in finance. So other than that, all of the other females, they're in marketing, and or they're doing programming related work. So we go after them, and again, Liberia being small, people graduate, you get people, find something. People always tell me, just find something for them to do. And it's frustrating because you can't just find something for them to do. You must have something that they can do. My heart beats and my pressure goes up if I come into the office and I just see people sitting around with nothing to do.
Money
So
wasting.
yes, and so we know that it's a challenge, and so we participate in a lot of the female related things when it comes to IT. I think they just had the the Girls in ICT Day, so we participate in that. We sponsor them. We help them with whatever things they want. We go and talk to them, but there's only so much we can do in terms of how many we can hire. Because the thing is, if you hire too many people and you can't pay them, then they start
You're in
doing bad.
trouble. You're in
Yes.
trouble. Yeah.
So, but yeah, so our policy is to have 35% of the staff females, and we can go above that. I mean, if a female comes and she's good, and there's an opening, we go after them and try to bring them in to work with us.
Yeah.
The challenge is that we work long hours. You know it.
Of
And
course.
for some of them, especially when they have children or they have the jealous boyfriends or stuff, it can be a challenge for them. So we ask them up front when they come to work for us about those kind of issues and how they will handle it. And for me, I always tell them you can always find another man. So focus focus on your career, and
Ah,
then guess what? They will come in
he should
Yeah.
he,
droves.
he should be
So
busy too. Not worry about what I'm doing.
well,
Exactly.
there you go.
All
So,
right.
but that's what we do. That's what we do. I mean,
Yeah.
and hopefully it gets better, over time.
I have to
One
commend you.
one
Thank you.
question for you, because you have a wealth of knowledge, and one thing that I'm thinking about is the future. Training the next generation, um, your legacy. Because you're one of especially in Liberia, we don't have too many people like you. So, what are you doing in terms of training the future and somebody to take your place, or somebody that if something happened, that your legacy will continue?
All right, that's a very good question. And again, this is, I guess, if I can say it, one of my secrets. What I did is a couple of years ago, because I was the sole owner of the company, I gave out 40% of the company to two persons that were working for me, two very young persons. One of them I had met, Mr. Carl Smith. I met him at
Mhm.
I think the first ICT conference. And I told him, if you join me, I can make you a big man. Today he's the CTO of the company, and he handles a lot of the stuff when I'm not there. I'm confident that, if God forbid, knock on wood, heaven forbid, if I'm not around, he can handle it. Every once in a while, he will call me and tell me he needs my gray hair because he will go into certain offices or certain negotiations, and he's young. So they look at him, gray hair has its privileges. So when I show up with my gray hair,
Yes.
at least they know. But then in the same vein, some of them say when you show up with your gray hair, the people would not want to give you a contract because they say you're going to be leaving the stage. And I said, and I go in anytime.
Jam
So
if
yes,
you do, jam if you
That's
don't.
funny too.
yes, I have some friends who asked me one time, why you keep all this gray hair? You know, I wouldn't give you a job if you show up with all this gray hair because you're coming to die. I said, well, I
Wow.
said I'm not into the dyeing business because that's something I will lose. I mean, my father was gray at 30, so it's hereditary, and also I'm 60, so sooner or later it will happen. But that's what I'm doing. So
Mhm.
my staff, they're very young. I mean, they're in their 30s, and so I know that if for some reason I have to slow down, they can take it, because when I used to come to the US before, I would be up 3, 4, 5 in the morning because of the time difference,
Yeah.
making sure everything happens. But nowadays, I don't have to unless we have some conference call that I have to be on. But they can handle it. They can
Yes.
handle it.
Great.
What's his name? Carl is like, I think he's a replica of me
He
because
is. He
he knows
is.
both. He knows both infrastructure and he knows and software, and we think alike. And again, perhaps I was very lucky, and then I would say too, he was very smart to
Mhm.
to believe in the vision. He could have
Yes.
left. People were offering him more money than I could offer him, but
That's good.
at the end of the day, he's an owner. If I'm not around, he will be the one to take it over. And so, to answer your question, and sometimes you'd be surprised, he makes harder decisions than I do, especially when it comes to hiring of staff, disciplining them and stuff. There are sometimes I ask them, what would Mr. Smith say or what would Mr. Wilson say? It's not that we don't have our fights. We do have our fights. I mean, we do. But at the end of the day, I think sometimes we walk away when we're in a fight and we can decide what to do. We walk away but we can't keep speech from each other for too long. So we gotta
True.
come back. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, but
amazing.
to answer your question, Mwetana will be around, long after,
Yes.
when I leave here at 100 years old.
And
Yeah,
I
I
want
That's
to
wasn't trying
say,
to kill you. I was just trying to make sure that this knowledge is being
He wasn't
transferred
trying to kill
somewhere
you.
else.
yes, it is. It
That's
well,
all.
is.
and I will say I did meet Carl, and everybody around that day was saying this is Vivian's driver car. He's just like Vivian. He's even worse than Vivian. But I wanted us as we end, and folks who's been watching, thank you for sticking around. We've been talking to Mr. Vivian Charles Jones, the owner of Mwetana, a consulting group in Liberia. I wanted to quickly, there's a short video I put together. And I think that's one of the things that amazed me about your company is that you don't only do, I mean, you're not only for profit, you also participate in a lot of NGO work, helping students. There are students that you support. And so there was a ship of books that went to Liberia. And I put some pictures together from that experience. And I want, as we end the interview, I want you to talk a little bit about the kids and what it was like for them to be invited on that ship and looking at the book. So it's about a minute and a half. So if folks can just stick around to watch that. So we hear amazing what the children had to do to see maybe a library for some of them for the first time. All right, there's just one or two pictures from there. We
Oh,
have this.
yes.
We have this one. So that boy is into that book. We have this other one, and this, and this.
Well,
So tell us about the children and how just tell us a little bit about this experience.
Well, it was an eye opener. First of all, those children, they're from the Monrovia Demonstration Elementary School. And for those that are listening, that's the name of the school, is Monrovia Demonstration Elementary School. And for some reason they've changed it to Monrovia Elementary Demonstration School. And I've been fighting with them to change it. Yeah. But our offices are right on McDonald Street, so they're not too far from, I think, Clay Street, where the demonstration school is. And when God has blessed you, you must be able to give back. And so for us, like I said, okay, I went to BW Harris, I went to Rick's, so I figured they're good, but nobody pays attention to children in a public school. A lot of people that are in the government today, a lot of successful people went through Monrovia Demonstration Elementary School. That was the school through Rebecca Wilson. And because of the neglect and everything, we decided that we were going to take the demonstration school. In fact, initially we wanted to take the entire school, but then we realized that it was just too many. So we focused only on the sixth graders, because they were seniors. So we engaged the school, told them we wanted to take the kids on the tour, and it will be at no cost to them. So we did all of the planning. Again, it required planning, getting the transportation and everything. But it was an eye opener, because for some of them, they've never even seen that number of books, let alone
mhm.
and even some of the staff that work with us, when they went on the ship, I mean, again, there was so much to do. So we bought some books for the school, and originally we were going to give it only to the students, but then we decided, let's give it to the school, so that when those students leave, the students that are coming
Other
behind
students,
them
yeah.
will have books in the library to read. And
Mhm.
so we did that. And like I said, it was part of our corporate social responsibility to give back. You know, if you're doing well and the people around you not doing well, eventually you yourself, you're not going to do well. So working with a demonstration school for us, it was more a way to make a difference, a way to give back. If everybody just did a little, we can solve Liberia's problem.
Oh yeah.
And but sometimes people want to just do the big thing. So you do what you can do. So we're still engaged with them. As a matter of fact, because of that, two students from that school got full scholarships to go to BW Harris
Oh no.
because yes, two classes. I think the class of 1977. I know they will kill me, and I think the class of 1981. I could be wrong, but those two
Amazing.
classes, the both of them, they approached me, and each one of them wanted to sponsor a student. So basically, we took, I think that it was the valedictorian, and it
Oh
happens to be
no.
a girl and a guy. And the both of them are now in BW Harris, and they did
Nice.
very well. Their first semester, they went on a roll.
Nice.
Again, coming from a public school, like demonstration, coming into BW Harris and going on, making an honor roll. Because we told them the only thing you need to do is to pass. So you don't need to, I mean, full scholarship, uniform, books, everything.
Wow.
So and that's what, yeah, because one of the kids,
Yeah.
he has five siblings. So his mother was so excited.
Oh
Just the fact
yes.
that perhaps
Oh
he will be
yes.
the one to make a difference. And
Yes.
then, somebody else suggested that perhaps even if he graduates, they may even pay his tuition to go to Cottington. So
Nice.
this thing may open, it may open doors for other things to get it. Because imagine if every graduating class of
Yes.
every school in Liberia, if they just decided to take care of one student, it will make a lot of
Make
difference.
a difference.
And
Yeah.
because we're now involved, for me, it's not just about making sure the school fees are paid and you walk away. So we are involved with what they do in the school. For example, they came one day, something about home economics, and they needed to buy stuff. I'm like, no, 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 no. This doesn't work that way. If we need to pay money, tell us upfront what we need to pay. You can't just, bring some
Yes.
cost on the student in the middle of the semester without them knowing. So we also get involved to help the school
To make
so that
sure.
they do the right thing. But
Yeah.
there's still a lot of work to do. There's still
Thank
a
you.
lot of work,
Thank you.
and they are the next generation. And if we can get the kids that are in, say, maybe elementary now, so it's not a long time, 6 years. So if we make the sacrifice, Liberia can be better. You know,
Yes.
and
Very
for
possible.
us, that's what we do. It's in our DNA to help and give back. And working with demonstration was an eye opener. And so we will continue to do things to help in whatever way we can. When you start doing this stuff, then the requests start coming from everywhere, and sometimes
Of course.
you got to be able to say no.
Of course.
Yes.
Sometimes the letters come, you read it, and you just put it on the side because everybody's coming with some kind of a need, and you can't meet all of the needs. But for us, we focus on education. Even me, before I used to help students, they come, but now I've changed my focus that if you want me to help you, or if I'm going to help you, it must be in the sciences, it must be in education, it must be in engineering, math, or science. It can't, or medicine. I hate to say, but I'm not going to sponsor somebody who wants to do history or who want to get in agriculture, because again, agriculture can save Liberia if we do it right.
Right.
Yes.
Hopefully,
Thank you.
so people have come to me, they got a degree in, say, accounting, they can't find a job. I said, okay, go back to LU and do agriculture, I'll pay for it. I said, because then you can start your own business. You got
Yes.
one lot can help a family, they can put food on the table. So for me, my attitude is we must change people's mindset. It's a mind thing. Everybody wants to work for government, and guess what? It
Mhm.
can't happen. The government right now hires about maybe 60,000 people. So what happens to the rest of the people? All
The
you're
rest
gonna
of
do is
it.
keep
Yes.
going from place to place to ask to help? No. Find a lot somewhere. We got plenty of land in Liberia. Grow something. The person who owns the land, if you're taking care of it, they're not gonna move you.
Yes.
Grow something, even if you're growing peppers or something, it will make a difference. You will have food on the table, you can sell it, and you can survive. And for
Thank
me,
you.
that's the message. We got to focus on education, but we have to do it holistically. And I hate to say it, but yeah, the people who doing demographics, we got plenty of them. We got plenty of people doing history. So
Sociology,
yes,
social
exactly.
work.
Yes,
Okay.
you need that money.
We can have a whole nother show
Yes.
Vivian, about that.
Yes, and you
Trust
can.
me.
Yes, and I can come and be a part of it. I would love to be a part of it. Yes, yes.
But
Agriculture.
thank you so much. I mean, I think the hour went by so quickly.
I know.
We learned a lot about you. You do a lot. I hope you do have some fun and not just work.
Yes, I do have fun. We do have fun. We have a retreat every year for the staff that they look
Okay.
forward to. So every
Work
year,
related again.
the second
Yes.
Friday,
Yes.
we take them out. Yes, but
Work
no, it's not work
related.
related. This one they just go and have pleasure. So
No, you. We're talking
We're
about
talking about
you.
you
you-
and your
you-
Talk
wife.
about fun.
I have fun. I have fun. I have a lot of fun with her, but you know, no wife is ever happy with their husband being away. So that's the
That
fact.
is 100% correct.
I
But you
choose
make
my
a lot.
battles.
But
I choose my
I'm sure.
battles wisely. You know,
Yeah,
I choose my
I'm sure
battles
she
wisely
appreciates you because you're here almost all the time. But we appreciate the fact
until I'm ready to go back. Then,
that everything's
Then that
then
problem.
it's a problem.
Until
But
you're
you know,
not.
to be honest, originally when we started, the plan was I would come once a quarter. But I was naive to think that I would get to Liberia, start a business, and all of a sudden you can do that. It wasn't possible, you
Yeah.
know. But now I can do that, you know. And so if they say happy wife, you know, happy life.
Happy
So
life.
if I
Yes.
have to, I know I can come more often now, and that's my plan to do that.
And this is not
You are
just, and
indeed a smart
I
man.
just like to add that this is not just like a 5 year, this is a 30 years wife. 30
Yes,
years.
yes.
Amazing relationship, amazing family. Thank you, Vivian, for coming and spending some time with us. We've truly enjoyed you. We hope that we want to also thank you for the students that you help. When I saw, I have some of those pictures. I actually have one of the pictures with a ship on my computer deck stream. It's just amazing. Those kids seeing that, it just wow me that they were able to go there on the ship and see those books. So thank you so much. We wish you all the very best and
Thank you.
just amazing. Agata, Eva, anything else for Vivian?
No, just thanks for what you do.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you. Hopefully we can continue this conversation outside of the show. I got plenty of questions for you, and I may have some opportunities as well, so we can talk after. But it's been a pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much for what you do.
And today I didn't even add our cotton on relationship. I
was waiting for that.
I know it.
I was waiting for you to tell me that your uncle or your cousin or somebody.
I did not even add our cotton on relationship there. I just wanted everybody to feel that we all know Vivian like we know him here today. Okay.
It's good we didn't mention Kadida because it was going to bring something else out of Glendon. So let's leave that. But yes.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Anytime. Yes.
All right. See you. Bye bye. Okay.
Interesting.
All right.
Yes, that was amazing. Interesting. If every school would take one child, you know what I mean? Even if you were to partner to help a child or help somebody, that would be really good. There are a lot of people doing good work, making sacrifices to go back home. We have to do what we can to continue to bridge the gap to help Liberia. We only have one home, and that's Liberia. Okay, Auntie May, Mame.
Yes, I have Mame today.
Mame.
I said Mame what did I say Mame was today? I said she was Christian.
She was a church woman.
Yeah, church woman. Mame said, no, I don't know if this. Okay, she's asking a question. When you are lost and need direction in life, who do you think of first? It depends on how lost or where I'm lost.
Yeah.
It depends on what it is. There are certain people in my life that I think are good at specific things. You know, there are certain things that I would call my mom for. You know, there are certain things I would call my sister or my brother, or my in-laws, things of that sort. So that one is a tough one. I don't know if she means it, in general. If you're
True.
in trouble, who the first person do you call?
Yeah, I mean, I think the same way. I share the same response you're sharing. It's like, what is it specifically? Is she talking about? Are you
Yeah.
lost in the woods, or are you lost in your troubles, or are you having some difficulties? It's like, who do you reach out to first
Yeah.
when you find yourself in a dilemma? I think that's what I would think, and it could be different reasons. It could be like an individual. It could also be some people. If you were as religious as my may, you call on God first. Say, Lord, here am I. You know what I mean?
If you are heathen like me, you probably be going to the bar.
Call on that bottle.
Did you see that post that says $1 trillion or 10 minutes with Jesus? Listen, I'm not worthy to be in his presence.
I need my
Hit
money.
me up with the trillion.
I
am not going to sit with him.
Oh Lord, help us.
Help us,
Eva,
heathens,
who
right?
Eva?
Huh?
Who you going to first? The money or
10 minutes with Jesus or $1 trillion?
I'm gonna meet Jesus eventually. I don't want to meet him right now.
Oh,
give me my money.
That's a good one.
I'm gonna meet him eventually, but let me take care of here now.
I gotta go somewhere to meet him. I ain't ready to go there yet.
Yes. Well, it's already 8:12. We had a good show today.
Yes.
Good show. We will keep tight lip on our guests for next week. we're still trying to.
Very important person. Just know that.
Very important person.
That's all you need to know.
Yes. So, well, thank you, folks, for watching. Anything else y'all want to talk about? Or we gotta go. 8:12.
We gotta go.
All right, folks. Thanks for watching. Until next week, Thursday, we will see you all and have a wonderful good evening. Weekend for me, I am just going to be at my most favorite place tomorrow.
In bed.
Hey, I love it when y'all know me.
Huddled up with the pillows.
There you go.
Listen,
bye, everybody.
When you are a certain age, your bed is your most favorite place.
Most favorite place. I got enough candles. I got some wine.
Don't point your horse down.
No.